What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you've got some really nice things planned for the weekend. I'm feeling really positive today. I think today is going to be an absolutely massive day for Manchester United, and it does look like today will be the day that the new bid for Rasmus Højlund goes in. But before we get started on the video, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's jump straight on into the show. So on this morning's show, guys, we've got so much to get into. We've got some more updates for you on the Fred departure situation. We've got some news on Maguire, McTominay, of course, Rasmus Højlund. We've also got a really interesting story about Victor Osimhen, which I think will it will interest you to say the least, but it isn't the best of news. I know everyone's saying, Kieran, why are we talking about Victor Osimhen? He's never going to come to Manchester United. But anyway, I'm going to talk about it anyway, because Victor Osimhen is somebody I would have loved to see at Manchester United, as I'm sure lots of you would have as well. We've got some updates on Martial, and we've got a really interesting story about Benjamin Pavard, the Bayern Munich player, which again is a player I really like. So yeah, we've got so much to get into. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel, and let's jump straight on into the show. Let's start off with the big topic then. Let's start off with the one that everybody is talking about at the moment. That is none other than Mr. Rasmus Højlund. Honestly, I'm so ready to just get this Rasmus Højlund saga out the way. I think it's safe to say it's a saga now, isn't it, at this point? Rasmus Højlund is a saga, isn't it? It's been going on for so long, it has, but today does feel like the day where everything's going to kind of come to a closure, and we will get a bit of clarity on what is going on. So Fabrizio came out last night saying that Manchester United will hold new talks with Rasmus Højlund, blah, and a new bid is expected to go in. And he also goes on to say the following. Rasmus Højlund, this was 3 hours ago, Fabrizio says Rasmus Højlund wants Manchester United. It's very clear since day one of negotiations, and these final days of this week will be crucial. PSG's bid hasn't changed Højlund's mind, and at this stage his priority is Manchester United. Club are set for new round of talks with Atalanta. It is now up to Manchester United. So it does look like today will be the day. Obviously yesterday was dominated by this news that PSG had entered the race. I think PSG have left the race already, to be completely honest with you. I'm not really worried about PSG anymore. They offered 50 million euros and said they weren't willing to offer any more money. So I think it's pretty safe to say that they're out of the race, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, and it does look like today will be the day that the talks resume, and I do expect a bid to go in today. The bid is believed to be around 70 million euros, hence the video title. 70 million euros is about 60 million pounds. It'll be something like probably 50 million pounds up front with around 10 million in add-ons. That's what we're kind of seeing. That's what ultimately Atalanta want. They want it to be they want the figure to be 70 million euros, okay? As long as there's a 7 in the, in the price, I think that will get this deal over the line. But obviously that 70 can be made up of add-ons. There is no way on earth Manchester United will pay 70 million euros up front for Rasmus Højlund. It won't happen. The first bid was 42 million pounds plus around 8 million in add-ons. I expect the second bid will come in around 50 million pounds plus maybe around 8 to 10 million pounds in add-ons, which I think at this stage is fine. Give them 50 million up front. I think he is going to go on to be an absolute world beater in a few years. Give him the 50 million. Make sure the add-ons are achievable for them, but only if he's getting like 20, 30 goals a season, or if we win the Champions League, or if we win the Premier League. Like, it needs to be add-ons like that. It can't just be if he plays 10 matches, we'll give you 10 million. It really does have to be performance-based add-ons, okay? It can't just be like, if he plays 20 games in the Premier League, we've got to give him 5 million. Like, I won't be happy with that. But I do think that Manchester United will make these add-ons, so it is kind of, they'll reward Atalanta if he does go on to be the player that they expect him to be, which I have no issue with, If he starts banging in 20, 30 goals for Manchester United, and that means we have to give Atalanta an extra 5 million, I literally could not care less. Just a really quick one. We've got over 200 people watching already, which is absolutely amazing. Please do smash a like on the video really quickly, and please do subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 7k subscribers. We're about 100 subscribers away, so let's see if we can hit that by the end of this video. The target is to get to 7k subscribers by the end. If we hit 7k subscribers, guys, by the end of this video, I'll give out 2 memberships to somebody in the chat, 2 Daily Red Devil memberships. So yeah, we're about 100 or so away, so go and subscribe if you haven't already, and let's see if we can hit that by the end of this video. Right. As always, though, I do ask you guys to get involved in the comments section. Let me know how you're feeling about all these stories. I will read out as many comments and read out as many questions as possible, so do get involved. But yeah, it looks like it will be today. It looks like the deal day has finally come. Simon Stone from the BBC, who again is a very credible journalist in the UK, is reporting that Erik ten Hag is desperate to conclude the deal for Rasmus Højlund. So everybody wants to get this deal over the line. The fans do, Manchester United do, and even Atalanta do. If anybody missed it, Atalanta have already signed his replacement. That has been confirmed. His name is El Bilal Torre. He is a 21-year-old striker who previously was at Almeria in La Liga, and he has now moved to Atalanta. So they've already got their replacement. There is nothing literally here to wait on. It's just Manchester United putting in this 70 million euros bid. And then I think the deal will be done. I do. They've got their replacement. I think he cost them about 28 million euros. He looks quite good, actually, the guy that they've just bought. I know this isn't an Atalanta channel, but yeah, they've pretty much signed his replacement already. He looks like kind of a similar type of player, very young striker. So yeah, very, very good news all round, really, because that is sometimes the issue, isn't it, with clubs? They don't want to sell a player until they've brought in a replacement. But at least with this one, Rasmus Højlund's replacement has already been signed. They've already got him in the club. He was also linked to Everton as well, which was quite interesting. It was a race between Atalanta and Everton, but Atalanta seem to have won that race, which is pretty mad, isn't it, to be completely honest with you? But yeah. So Fabrizio goes on to say that Rasmus Højlund only wants Manchester United. The final days of this week will be crucial. And ultimately, PSG's bid hasn't changed his mind. He wants to come to Manchester United, which is the most important thing for me here. The fact that he wants to play for us, the fact that he wants to play for that Manchester United shirt. You know, he's a boyhood Manchester United fan. All of the signs are saying, yes, bring him in, 100%. He does go on to say, though, sorry, this is coming from Santi JFM on Twitter. He says, Rasmus Højlund is flattered by PSG's interest, but his only priority is to join Manchester United. It's his dream. I mean, let me just repeat that to you guys on this Friday morning where we're all really positive. It's the weekend. Let me just repeat that little bit for you again. Just let this bit sink in. He is flattered by PSG's interest, but his only priority is to join Manchester United. It's his dream. I mean, what more can you ask from a player? You know? Like, that is just what you want to hear, isn't it? That it's his dream to come to Manchester United. Like, especially as all of us want him. I mean, I know some people in the chat will say, I don't want him, he's rubbish. Because you always get a couple of people like that, don't you? That are just out to kind of disagree, which is completely fine. You're allowed to have a differing opinion. But I think in the moment we're at the moment, Rasmus Højlund is the best option. He is. You know, we're not going to get Harry Kane. We're not going to get Victor Osimhen. So you either get Rasmus Højlund, you either get Gonzalo Ramos, and you either get Kolo Muani. Ten Hag wants Rasmus Højlund. We've been negotiating for 3 months. So anybody who says I don't want him at the club, like, that's completely fine. But unless you have another kind of suggestion of who we can get at this point in the window, then obviously put that forward. But at this point, I'm really, really happy, and I do think that he will come in and do really, really well for us. And as I just said, the fact that he wants to be here, that's so important. It really, really is. You know, I'm sick of having these mercenary type players who come in. You think of people like Di Maria, you think of people like Alexis Sanchez. They come in, they earn 300 grand plus a week. They do absolutely nothing. They rinse us for wages, and then they leave a year or two later. I'm just kind of done with those types of players. I really, really am. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing that we're going to get this one over the line, and we just need to wait for those final bits of details to come in, and then we can all celebrate. We can all go on the here we go, and we can then move on to some other targets, hopefully. Let's read out some more. Right, let's have a look a little bit more at what else has been going on with Rasmus since we spoke last night. Where are we? Ultimately, yeah, the black and white of it is, just to summarise this part of the show, is that talks are expected today, and a deal around 70 million euros is expected to be concluded. So yeah, I think it's positive. Obviously, as soon as we do get the confirmation of this new bid going in, as soon as we get the here we go, of course we will go live. So do make sure you smash a like on the video, and do make sure you subscribe. Welcome to everybody who's just joined in the last few minutes as well. Hope everyone is doing well on this Friday morning. Yeah, I'm really excited about Rasmus, as you can probably tell. You know, I get people have differing opinions. Some people don't want him. I get that. Some people are worried about the amount of goals he scored. But at this point, we're 2 weeks until the first game of the season is on 2 weeks on Monday. Okay, the Premier League, I think, starts 2 weeks today. Like, we need Rasmus Højlund. There isn't any other option at this point now for me. Like, we have to go and get him. Right, anyway, let's move on to the next topic. But obviously, if you do disagree with me, if you think Rasmus Højlund isn't good enough, if you think I don't want him, do let me know in the comment section. I look forward to seeing you guys' opinions on this topic. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk about Benjamin Pavard, obviously the French defender who plays for Bayern Munich at the moment. Now, this seems to be a player who we are constantly linked with. I'm not really sure why. I think he's good, but I mean, does everybody think that he's better than Wan-Bissaka and Dalot? I mean, I guess he probably is, isn't he? But I'm not really too sure about this one. So the story is coming out from It's coming out from a German journalist saying that Manchester United are in contact with Benjamin Pavard's management. So apparently we're in contact with Benjamin Pavard about a potential deal to Manchester United. I'm not really too sure about Benjamin Pavard. I'm not going to lie. I get why people are saying we need a new right back, because ultimately Wan-Bissaka's really good defensively but not good going forward. Dalot's quite good going forward but not very good defensively. Like, we don't have a complete right back at this moment in time, if I'm completely honest with you. But I do like Aaron Wan-Bissaka and I do like Diogo Dalot, so I wouldn't personally be spending any budget that we have on Benjamin Pavard. But the one thing that you do have to consider here is that apparently Benjamin Pavard can also play as a centre-back. So say Harry Maguire leaves, right? You could bring in someone like Benjamin Pavard and he can either be a right back or a centre back. He can play in both of those two positions. So in that sense, it is quite positive. But overall, I'm not too sure about him, to be completely honest. But what do you guys think about Benjamin Pavard? Let me know in the comments section. Is he somebody you would like to see at Manchester United? The one key thing that I think is really important to get across here is he only has 1 year left on his contract, okay? His contract expires in 2024. Now, this could just be a negotiation tactic for him to get a better wage. That is definitely possible. Obviously, he's a World Cup winner. He's won the Champions League. You know, he's a winner, definitely. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But is he just trying to play for a contract? You know, is he trying to play Manchester United for a contract? That is definitely possible. Obviously, yeah, he is a good player. He is. I'm not by any means saying that he's not a good player, but I'm just not sure whether at this moment in time he should be a priority player for me personally. But I guess if Harry Maguire leaves, then I think he would be a good option, because obviously he can play centre-back and he can play right-back. So it does give us options in that position, because I don't really want to bring in like somebody who can just play at centre-back instead of Maguire. It doesn't really make sense. Whereas if you bring in Benjamin Pavard, he can play centre-back, right-back. If you sell Harry Maguire, then you have this kind of fourth choice centre-back in Benjamin Pavard, who is obviously, I think he played with Varane in the French national team, didn't he, at the World Cup? So yeah, you've obviously got somebody who's a World Cup winner. He's played with Varane in the national team, and he can play at right back. So he is quite versatile. He would give Erik ten Hag quite a lot of options, because you've got to remember, until about 6 months ago, Aaron Wan-Bissaka was completely frozen out of the team. It didn't look like Aaron Wan-Bissaka would ever play a game for Manchester United again. He comes back into the team and does really, really well, and now he's kind of, everybody loves him again. So there is always the potential that, you know, I'm not trying to badmouth players, but what happens if Aaron Wan-Bissaka goes back to how he was before? And then we're like, we really need a right back. Why do we not get a right back? Dalot's not good enough. You know, things can change quite quickly. So I can see why we are linked to this player, because he does give us options. You know, he is versatile. He can play centre-back. He can play right back. So I do think he would be a good addition. I'm just not sure whether that would mean that Wan-Bissaka leaves or Dalot leaves. That's the bit that I'm a bit unsure about, you know. I don't really know who he's replacing. If he's replacing Harry Maguire, I would say go and do this deal any day of the week. I'd say go and get him right now. Get rid of Maguire, bring in Pavard. That is a massive improvement, and he can also play him right back. So that's really, really positive, isn't it? If it is just as a replacement for Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, then I'm a little bit unsure about that personally. I think Dalot is still a very young player. He can go on to be a really good player, and I do like Wan-Bissaka. Again, he's only like 23 years of age, I think, Wan-Bissaka, isn't he? Or was he 24? Yeah, I mean, Wan-Bissaka is only 25 years of age. He's so young. Like, you've probably still got another 6 or 7 years of Wan-Bissaka at the highest level. So yeah, I would go for Pavard, but it would only be if we let Harry Maguire go. I wouldn't get him if Harry Maguire's staying. I don't really see the point in that, because we already have 4 centre-backs and we already have a right-back. So the only way that I see this happening, for me personally, is if Harry Maguire leaves the club, which it does look like could happen, and we will talk about in a minute. But yeah, let me know in the comment section, what do you think about Benjamin Pavard from Bayern Munich? Would you like to see him at Manchester United? Do you think he's a good replacement for Maguire? Me personally, I would definitely prefer him over Disasi. I don't really rate Disasi that much. I would definitely prefer Benjamin Pavard. Yeah, I think he would be good, to be honest, but it just depends on the price. It depends on the circumstances. As I said, he does only have 1 year left on his contract, which could mean that he's trying to ultimately put Manchester United's name into the mix to try and bump up his contract to Bayern Munich. That is always a strong possibility. I believe Bayern Munich are on the brink of signing Kyle Walker, aren't they? So maybe that's why this story's coming out. I think, yeah, I think they're looking to sign Kyle Walker, aren't they? What's he called? Yeah, I think they're looking to sign Kyle Walker. But yeah, I don't know what's happening with Diogo Dalot. I thought he signed a new contract, but maybe he didn't. Yeah, he has. So Diogo Dalot signed a new contract until 2028. So I don't think Dalot will leave You know, he only signed a new contract at the end of May. Wan-Bissaka, I would say, is probably more likely to leave the club, but I would rather keep Wan-Bissaka than Dalot personally. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section. Who would you prefer to have, Dalot or Wan-Bissaka? For me, definitely, I'd prefer to have Wan-Bissaka at this stage. I think he's a really, really good defensive right back, isn't he? I mean, he's not great going forward, but I think with Erik ten Hag's, you know, mentorship, whatever you want to call it, I think he could go on to be much better. People in the chat already saying saying Mount is a flop. I mean, come on, guys. We've literally had 3 pre-season matches. You can't call Mount a flop after 3 pre-season matches. I mean, that's just not. Come on, you've got to give him at least a season before you start throwing out those types of words. Like, that's not cool. Like, obviously you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't think you can say somebody's a flop after 3 matches. That's just ridiculous, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, so yeah, let me know in the comment section, what do you think about Benjamin Pavard? Would you like to see him at Manchester United? It is worth noting as well that apparently Manchester City and Juventus are also in contact with his agent. So at the moment, there's 3 clubs circling for Benjamin Pavard: Manchester City, Manchester United, and Juventus. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really too sure what to think about this one. I think it's probably too premature to kind of be talking about this until we know that Harry Maguire's going. As soon as Harry Maguire goes, I think you could start saying, yes, let's get Disasi, let's get Benjamin Pavard, let's get Todibo, etc., etc. Right, let's talk about Mr. Maguire then, shall we, everybody? Let's talk about the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Maguire. So we've had this story coming in overnight from Core Sport in Italy, which is, I believe it's a newspaper in Italy. It's got 800,000 followers on Twitter, and they're reporting that Harry Maguire has been approached by several Serie A sides. Napoli, Inter Milan, Roma, Juventus, and AC Milan are all interested in signing him. So not only do we have West Ham knocking on the door for Harry Maguire, we now also have an abundance of Serie A clubs, which is interesting because I do actually think that if Harry Maguire went to Serie A, I think he'd do really, really well there. I do, because they play a lot slower. It's a lot more defensive. It's a lot more kind of sit back behind the ball. Like, imagine Harry Maguire playing for Jose Mourinho at Roma. It'd be absolutely perfect, wouldn't it? They just park the bus, don't they? So, yeah, I do think that Harry Maguire has got good options, as we've just said. They're Napoli, Inter Milan, Roma, Juventus, AC Milan. They're all very good clubs, you know? Hats off to all of them. I mean, Napoli were in the Champions League final last year, weren't they? Sorry, not Napoli, Inter Milan. So, yeah, he does have options. Obviously, West Ham are still circling for him as well. Sky Sports were reporting last night that apparently West Ham are now pushing to sign Harry Maguire. I don't know. It's one to keep an eye on, definitely. I just hope that he does go for his own sake. I really, really do, because, yeah, a bidding war for Harry Maguire, Liam says in the comments. I mean, it could well be, you know, when there's all of these clubs circling for him, like, surely he has to just be like, this isn't even that bad. You know, AC Milan, they're a massive club. Inter Milan, they're a massive club. Like, surely you just kind of go. Like, I don't really know what he's holding on to. I really don't get it. But maybe he knows something that we don't. Maybe he just wants to stay at Manchester United forever. I don't know. Very, very strange. But yeah, so Sky Sports are reporting that West Ham remain in talks. West Ham remain in talks with Manchester United over Harry Maguire. And yeah, so West Ham are still knocking on the door for Harry Maguire. They haven't pulled out of the race yet. And also, as I just said, Italian journalists are reporting that a number of Serie A clubs are also in for Harry Maguire, which I think is very interesting. I do. And as somebody just said in the chat, like, you know, Smalling, everybody thought, oh, Smalling's rubbish. He's gone to Roma and he looks like an incredible player. So, yeah, I think it would be a really good move for him. I just wonder whether, I'm not going to lie, I can't really imagine Harry Maguire moving to Italy. I don't know why. I just can't. I think he's one of those types of people who will probably play in England for his whole career, you know. But yeah, he would be a really, really good fit for Italian football. So let's just hope that he does get his move, and let's hope that he does go, because, you know, I am kind of just sick of all of the slander I see about Harry Maguire. Like, I get people don't like him. I get people don't think he's good enough. But I think a lot of the time it does go a bit too far for me personally. And I would rather he just goes. I'd rather we cash in and we just don't ever have to speak about him ever again, because it does just kind of annoy me a little bit. Right, anyway, so we've got over 400 people watching now, which is absolutely amazing. Please do smash a like on the video if you haven't already, guys. And please do subscribe to the channel. I have said that if we hit 7,000 subscribers on this stream, I will give out 2 memberships. We're about 100 away, so let's see if we can hit that by the end of the video. So go and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, let's see if we can hit that target by the end, and I will gift some memberships to some people in the chat. Right, so we've talked about Harry Maguire, we've talked about Rasmus Højlund. Let's move on to this one about none other than Victor Osimhen. Now, you're probably thinking, Kieran, why the hell are we talking about Victor Osimhen? He's not coming to Manchester United. At the beginning of the transfer window, I'll be completely honest, Victor Osimhen was my number one target as the striker. That was who I wanted. Obviously, that's not going to now happen, but we have had a story come in overnight from L'Equipe in France, obviously one of the biggest French newspapers, reporting that Al Hilal are positioning themselves to make a huge move for Napoli and Nigeria striker Victor Osimhen. So it looks like, I mean, it's absolutely mad, isn't it? People saying Saudi football's not going to catch up with the Premier League, it's not going to catch up with other leagues. They've just put in a 300 million euros bid for Mbappe, and now the same club are going for Victor Osimhen. So apparently Al Hilal are going to make a bid for Victor Osimhen. Absolutely mental. I know he's not going to come to Manchester United, but I thought I would just bring it into the show because I do get quite a lot of people in the chats saying, already saying, you know, what about Victor Osimhen? Could he come to Manchester United? Why are we not looking at him? We're not looking at Victor Osimhen because he's £150 million, okay? Manchester United clearly would like to sign Victor Osimhen, but they don't have the budget to pay £150 million. Whereas Saudi Arabia, they've got an abundance of money, and it looks like Al Hilal will make a move for Victor Osimhen. I guess ultimately their bid for Kylian Mbappe was rejected, wasn't it? They didn't get that one through, so now they're moving on to alternative targets, and it looks like they will target. Victor Osimhen, which I'm just going to say now. Obviously, fair play to them. Like, they're trying to build a league, but it will be a real shame if Victor Osimhen goes to Saudi Arabia. It really, really will. Like, he could play. In my opinion, he could play for any top club in world football. He could go to Real Madrid. He could go to Manchester United, he could go to Manchester City. Like, he could literally play anywhere he wants. If he goes to what's it called? If he goes to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, I honestly think that is pretty sad. But obviously that's up to him. I'm not really sure what to say about that. I would be really devastated though, to be completely honest, because I really, really, really liked Victor Osimhen. He was my number one target. He was the person I really wanted to see at Manchester United. I thought, if we've got these new owners, if Sheikh Jassim comes in, then I can imagine, you know, Victor Osimhen signing. I could see that happening. I could see them making a marquee signing. But yeah, it looks like obviously we're out of that race. There's no way on earth we're going to get Victor Osimhen, and it looks like he now will go to, at least have a bid put in by Saudi Arabia. So yeah, bit of a shame, but it is what it is. There's not really too much we can do about that. We can only work within what we've got, can't we? So yeah, let's not get too negative about that one. But I thought I would bring it in anyway because so many people ask me what's going on with Osimhen, and I say nothing, to be honest. But yeah, there we go. Right, let's talk about none other than Mr. Fred, shall we? Pastor Fred. Right, obviously we spoke about him looking like he was going to move to Galatasaray last night. There's been a bit of a twist in the tale since we spoke last night surrounding Fred. Apparently, there are Galatasaray, Fulham, and 2 clubs in Saudi Arabia who are all looking to make a bid for Fred. So we literally are going to have a bidding war on our hands for Fred here. Obviously, Fulham have been linked to him since the last Premier League game of the season, haven't they? I remember talking about Fred like literally after our last home game of the season against Fulham. So yeah, it looks like Fulham, 2 clubs in Saudi Arabia, and Galatasaray are all now almost in a bidding war for Fred. The story goes as follows. Fred will leave Manchester United as they want to raise funds. He is evaluating 2 offers from Turkey, one from Saudi Arabia, and one from Fulham and 2 offers from Saudi Arabia. So at the moment, he's got 5 different clubs ultimately bidding for him. 2 in Turkey, 1 from Fulham, and 2 in Saudi Arabia. Absolutely mental. Like, I wasn't expecting that to happen, to be completely honest. I thought Fred would be one of those players that we kind of struggle to sell, but the fact that there's so many clubs interested in him is obviously really, really positive. And it does look like we will get a good bit of money for him. Manchester United are believed to want around £20 million for Fred's signature, which I think is a fair price. I think if we get 20 million for him, I'll be happy with that. I'll have 0 complaints. But yeah, let me know in the comments section, how much do you think is a good price for Fred? I would go with 20 million for me personally. And the positive news on this, off the back of this, guys, is that Sky Sports are reporting that if Fred does leave, Manchester United will then go back into the market, as they have held talks already with Fiorentina over Sofyan Amrabat. He is thought to be very keen on moving to Manchester United. So what ultimately this story means is, as soon as Fred goes, which we do expect to be imminent, I wouldn't be surprised if Fred's gone within the next week, to be completely honest with you. I think Fred will leave within the next week, and as soon as he leaves, Manchester United will then submit an official bid for Sofyan Amrabat. So within the next week, we could see Fred going, and we could see Amrabat coming through the door. So that's really, really positive. That's something to be excited about. Obviously, we will keep you updated on where that club will be. But as I said, 2 clubs in Turkey, 2 clubs in Saudi Arabia, and also Fulham are all bidding, are all interested in his signature. So if we don't get 20 million for him with 5 clubs interested, that's an absolute disgrace. But yeah, 15 to 20, 15 very, very minimum, 20 I'll be happy with. So let's hope that we do get that. And then we can just go spend that straight on Sofian Amrabat. We can get rid of Fred, bring in Amrabat. Everyone's a winner. Happy, happy days. But I guess if we're looking at it from a financial perspective, probably selling him to Saudi Arabia would be the best move. But at the end of the day, maybe he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. You know, we don't know. So it is ultimately up to Fred, really, isn't it? The player has to be happy with where we're going. We can't force him to go to Saudi Arabia. Joe says Saudis will get Fred for 25 to 35 million. Yeah, it's possible. It is. I mean, I do think that Fred's a good player. I do. I don't think he's good enough to play for Manchester United week in, week out. But I think if he goes to a Fulham, if he goes to a Galatasaray, I think he's in the squad every single match. And I think he would be a good player for them. He's not a bad player. He's just not Manchester United level, in my opinion. I think a bench player, he's okay. But you can't have somebody sat on the bench on 120 grand a week who's, you know, worth 20 to 25 million pounds a year. Worth 20 to 25 million and has 1 year left on his deal. That's the key thing with Fred. If he had 5 years left on his deal, I would say, like, let's just keep him. He's a good squad player. But he only has 1 year left on his deal. We have to sell him now, otherwise he goes for free. So, yeah, at least there are people interested in him. That's the key thing, and hence the video title, The Bidding War. We literally do have 5 different clubs all pushing for Fred's signature. Obviously, he hasn't gone on the pre-season tour to America. He has stayed back in Manchester. So there is absolutely no reason why this deal can't happen in the next kind of week, you know? I would be very, very, very surprised if he's in the Manchester United squad for the first game of the season. I would even give it a 5% chance at this point, but that's just my opinion. Fabrizio did say a couple of days ago that he was 90% sure that Fred will leave the club this summer. And as I said, Sky Sports have just come out. A couple of other journalists have come out saying that Fred will leave Manchester United this summer. With no question mark, no maybe about it. Fred will go, and ultimately we've already discussed the clubs that are kind of circling for his signature. So as and when we do get the confirmation on which of those clubs it will be and what the fee will be, we will of course bring that to you. But I am hoping for a fee in excess or around £20 million. I'll be very happy with that. So let's hope that happens. But yeah, as always, do let me know what you guys think. How much do you think Fred is worth? You know, what kind of fee do you think we should get for him? And let's move on to the next story. Let's keep things rolling. I will read out some of your questions in the second half of the show as well, guys. So do get your questions in. If you haven't liked the video, please do smash a like really, really quickly. We've got over 500 people watching today, which is absolutely amazing. And if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe. I've just dropped a link in the chat to subscribe. As I said, I will give out a couple of memberships if we hit 7k subscribers on this video. We're just under 100 away, so go and subscribe now, and let's see if we can hit that by the end of today's video. It's completely free to subscribe, so get involved. Right, let's talk about Anthony Martial really, really quickly. Another player who has interest in Saudi Arabia. Now, this news you might not be as excited about, to be completely honest with you, but I'm bringing it to you guys anyway. So there's a story coming out from Rob Dawson, who writes for ESPN, another journalist I really like, saying that Manchester United are willing to keep hold of Anthony Martial as another experienced option at centre forward. Now, I wanted to just get you guys' opinions on that. Obviously, we've already spoke about this a couple of days ago, that apparently there are 2 or 3 Saudi Arabian clubs all interested in signing Anthony Martial. And I think at that point, everybody kind of said, great, let's get rid of Martial. He's a good player, but he's injury prone. I don't really see the point in keeping him as an option. I don't, because he's just not available. I get the whole thing, we don't have any strikers, but what's the point in keeping a striker who's never available? Anthony Martial is a talented player. There's no doubt about that. He is a good player. When he can play and when he can stay fit, I do like him. I think he's good. I think he is good enough to play for Manchester United. I have no doubt about that. But his injury record is absolutely terrible. And I don't really get the point in keeping somebody as an option who's probably only going to be available for about 10 matches of the season. You know, it's like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. And if we can cash in for him now, I know you could say, oh, well, we don't have any strikers, but I would much rather cash in for him now and use the money to buy somebody who isn't injured all the time. Maybe someone like Taremi from Porto. Maybe you go and get somebody like, I don't know off the top of my head, but maybe you go and get somebody else, you know, one of these cheaper options that are available in the market. He's on 250 grand a week. I don't see him as an option. I really, really don't. As I said, I really like the player. I think he's a good player. I think he's good enough to play for Manchester United. He's someone that I really, really like, but he doesn't even, I don't even consider him as an option anymore. I don't. I just see him as someone who's injured all the time. So for me, if there are clubs interested, I would 100% let him go. I don't see the point in keeping an injury-prone player sat on the bench. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. But let me know in the comment section, what would you do with Anthony Martial? I don't understand this story that's come out this morning, and it has really frustrated me. You know, I am really, really positive, but I just don't get how Manchester United are saying they want to keep him as an option. Like, an option for what? What an option for what? An option for somebody to fill the medical room? Somebody to bring the water bottles out? Like, I just don't get it. But if someone try and help me make it make sense, because I honestly would rather have Jadon Sancho play as the number 9. I know Jadon Sancho had his issues last season off the pitch, and rightly so, he needed time away from football. But I would much rather have Jadon Sancho as the number 9, who seems to be a little bit more kind of together now, and you know, he looks like he's fitter, he looks like he's, you know, etc, etc. I would much rather have Jadon Sancho as a number 9 than have Anthony Martial sit on the bench injured all season. So for me, it's 100% sell. I have absolutely no doubt about that. He needs to leave. I don't know why we'd keep him. I think when Rasmus Højlund comes in, you've got to let him go 100%. But yeah, let me know if you guys disagree. Maybe you think, Kieran, no, we should give him another chance. Maybe he'll be better next season. I just think injury, you know, when somebody's injury prone, you can't undo that. It's not like something you can train out of somebody. I know you could maybe get new medical staff and new physics and stuff, but generally I do just think that once somebody gets to that level, he's just another Phil Jones, isn't he, at the end of the day, you know? Although, anyway, I've said my piece on it. Anthony Martial needs to leave for me, and I don't really understand this whole argument of keeping him as an option, because he isn't an option. He doesn't even seem like a player for me anymore. He's gone. But yeah, let me know if you guys disagree. I would always like to see you guys' opinions on it, and I do like to see it when people have different opinions. So yeah, let me know. But for me, 100% Martial needs to go, and I don't like this story that he is an option for Manchester United. I really don't. But anyway, that's the news. I bring you guys the news. We talk about it. People talking about Greenwood in the chat. Guys, there's no update on Mason Greenwood at this point, to be completely honest with you. There's no update about Mason Greenwood. As soon as we know anything about Mason Greenwood, we will let you know. But as it stands, there's absolutely nothing to tell you about Mason Greenwood. So yeah, everybody's in the same boat at the moment. No news on Mason Greenwood, I'm sorry to say, for the people who want him back at the club. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's keep things rolling on this morning show. So much to get into today, guys. Loads and loads of news, loads and loads of positivity as well. And let's talk about McTominay. Again, this is another player that I think needs to leave the club. And apparently West Ham are really, really pushing for Scott McTominay's signature, which is really good because obviously West Ham have got a massive amount of money from the Declan Rice deal. Apparently, this is coming in. This came in overnight, saying that Scott McTominay is the main target for West Ham for the defensive midfield position. So it does look like they are pushing for Scott McTominay now. Obviously, they had a bid rejected from Chelsea for Conor Gallagher. I think he'll be such a good signing for West Ham. And the story goes as follows, that David Moyes is ready to lean on his Manchester United contacts to complete a 40 million deal for Scott McTominay. So it does look like... just going to close this a bit. It does look like Scott McTominay will leave the club. It's just about the price. That's the issue here, as it is with everybody. As it is with every player with Manchester United. You know, if we get 40 million for Scott McTominay, I would honestly say that's one of the best transfers we've done this window. I would. You know, if we get 40 for Scott McTominay and 30 for Harry Maguire, that would be incredible business. Imagine that, actually, guys. Let's just think about this, right? Let's just all bring ourselves to this really positive place, right? You get 40 million for McTominay. Let's say 20 for Harry Maguire and 20 for Fred. That's £80 million in the bank. I'm just going to throw this out there, and everyone's going to say, why are you bringing this up? But you could go and get Harry Kane for that. You know, from those 3 players, you could get rid of 3 players who are never really going to play for Manchester United again and bring in someone like Harry Kane. I mean, that would be incredible, wouldn't it? But I do think this is one to keep an eye on over the next kind of 2 or 3 weeks of the transfer window. I don't imagine it will happen immediately, but ultimately the talks are there. David Moyes really wants Scott McTominay. I think he would do really, really well there. So I hope this deal happens. There's a bit of a story as well. Sorry, we've got a bit of... David Beckham's been talking about the Manchester United takeover. So we haven't spoken about the takeover for about a week because I just think it's pointless. But David Beckham's been speaking to The Athletic about the Manchester United takeover. So I'm going to read this out for you now, guys. If you haven't already, please do like the video and please do subscribe whilst I read out this bit of news that's just come out for you guys. I've just put a link in the chat to subscribe. So, right, this is coming out from The Athletic and it is a quote from David Beckham. So David Beckham says, "Is it time for the Glazers to leave? He says, I think so. I think it's purely because the fans want it. Once you lose the fans, especially at a club like Manchester United, it's hard to get them back. Obviously, they have achieved a lot, but there needs to be a change. We've all seen that. We all know that. Wow. I mean, that is amazing, isn't it? Like, I know that honestly, absolutely hats off to David Beckham for that. If anybody just missed that, ultimately David Beckham's been talking about the Manchester United takeover and been talking about the Glazers with The Athletic. And he's been asked, is it time for the Glazers to leave? And he ultimately says, yes, I think so. Once you lose the fans, especially at a club like Manchester United, it's hard to get them back. They've achieved a lot, but there needs to be change. We've all seen that. We all know that. So David Beckham is really, really throwing it at the Glazers there. You know, he's saying there needs to be change. They've lost the fans. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? I know like the takeover seems to have completely gone out of the window, but I do love it when bits of news like this come out. Like, I love it when the ex-footballers actually speak out about the Glazers, because so many of them, they seem to be really, really hesitant to talk about the takeover, really, really hesitant to badmouth the Glazers, because they probably think, well, if the Glazers stay, maybe I'll get some sort of job. Maybe they'll give me, an ambassador role. But David Beckham doesn't give it. David Beckham doesn't care. He's literally just thrown them under the bus. He's just said, you've lost the fans. It's hard to get them back now. They've achieved a lot, but there needs to be a change. We've all seen that. We all know that. So big ups to David Beckham there. Honestly, that's made my morning, that has. I'll see if I can put it in the chat for you guys so you can read it yourself. No, I can't. The quote's too long, but yeah, it's on the Athletic website. Yeah, really, really like that. David Beckham absolutely throwing it at the Glazers. Amazing. Just what we want to see on a Friday morning, isn't it? Just to start your weekend off. When you think all of the takeover news is completely gone, which it kind of has. Yeah, and then he just completely throws the Glazers under the bus. Yeah, so it's a big article on the Athletic, and the headline is, or one of the headlines is, David Beckham says the Glazers should leave Manchester United. I love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah, obviously he's now the owner of Inter Miami, isn't he? I'll have a proper read of it after the video, but it's up on the Athletics website. And one of the key talking points is him saying that the Glazers should leave Manchester United, which I just love. I really, really do, because as much as I love people like, Gary Neville, all of these pundits, ex-pundits, a lot of them were very, very hush-hush on like getting rid of the Glazers, It was only more kind of recently they've actually spoke out about them. So yeah, I do think it's really good that David Beckham has come out and said this. I know ultimately it doesn't mean that they're going to leave, but still, David Beckham has a lot of power in football now, doesn't he? He obviously owns this Inter Miami club. He's probably one of the most famous footballers of the last, 20 years. Yeah, I thought that would bring that into the show. I know it's not, some people might not care, but I thought it was really nice, and it made me smile just to see David Beckham completely throwing the bus at the Glazers, which is what we're all here for, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's what we want. Right, let's keep rolling with the show though. Let's keep going with the Manchester United news. Where are we? Let's talk about this then. So we've got this is coming in from. We've got a bit of a confirmation on the players that are up for sale this summer. I know I can see a load of people in the chat saying like, sell these people, get rid of this people. So Paul Hurst, who writes for The Times in the UK, another journalist I quite like, is reporting the following. Manchester United are set to boost their transfer budget with several sales this summer. Fred, Donny van der Beek, Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, Dean Henderson and Eric Bailly are all up for sale. So we got a bit of clarity on the players that are up for sale this summer, which is really, really good. And you know what? I would agree with every single one of those players. I would. Let's run through this really, really quick together then, shall we? So Fred, 100% needs to go, 20 mil. Donny van der Beek, 100% needs to go, I think 20 mil. Scott needs to go, 40 mil. How much do we reckon for Harry Maguire? Let's say 20 mil for Harry Maguire. Okay. I'm just going to calculate this for you guys now quickly, because Henderson, I think 20 mil. By 5 mil. All right. I'm just going to drop this in the chat for you now. All right, guys. So these are the players that are supposedly up for sale, and this is how much I think we should get for each one of these players. I don't know why it's gone all funny, but you get the general idea. So yeah, we've got Fred 20 mil, Donny 20 mil, Scott 40 mil, that's 80 mil, 20 for Maguire, 100 mil, Henderson 20. I mean, that's 125 million pounds worth of players there. When you look at it like that, that is absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? 125 million pounds worth of players. And none of them I would be remotely disappointed if they left the club. Not one of them. So, yeah. So there is a bit more actually coming out from David Beckham here, actually. So he's asked about whether he has... Now, this is really, really interesting. Brace yourselves for this. So he's pretty much been asked about whether he has any involvement in the Manchester United takeover, because obviously has been this kind of rumour circling around for the last maybe year or so that any Qatar bid would kind of had people like Gary Neville, David Beckham behind the scenes working on it. So he's only been asked this by The Athletic, and David Beckham says, I suppose any involvement with Manchester United RE takeover would mean the world to me going forward, but who knows? We'll see what happens in the next few weeks or months. Hopefully a decision gets made, and if I'm involved in any way, if not, I'll be a United fan and just do what all the other fans are doing. So ultimately, David Beckham is not saying no to this. He's kind of hinting that he is involved in it. I'm not sure if anybody just missed that. Obviously, I'm reading this literally live. It's just come out, so I'm still kind of processing it at the same time of you. But ultimately, David Beckham has been asked directly from The Athletic if he's involved in the Qatar takeover. And he says, we'll see what happens in the next few weeks or months. Hopefully a decision gets made. And if I'm involved in any way, if not, I'll be a United fan and just do what all the other fans are doing. So he's not saying no. He's not disregarding it. He's ultimately opening the door to the fact that he might be involved in the Manchester United takeover with whoever the new owner might be, which I think is really, really interesting. Let me know how you feel about that. How does everybody feel about this whole kind of players being involved in the bid? Do you like the idea of David Beckham being kind of part of the Qatari bid? I do quite like it. I think people like, I think Gary Neville, people like that, I'm not really too sure about. I mean, like David Beckham owns a football club now. He's obviously been really successful post his career in like the business side of football. Whereas like David Beckham, he went and managed Valencia. I think he got sacked after like 3 months. I don't really want like, you know, David Beckham, Rio, like people like that. Obviously, I love them all as players and I'd be happy for them to be brand ambassadors, all the rest of it. But like David Beckham actually knows about kind of business and football now. Do you know what I mean? Like he is involved in it. So I would be quite up for David Beckham being part of it, definitely. But some of those other people I'm not too sure about. But yeah, let me know in the comments section. What do you think about that one, guys? That was coming out from The Athletic, where David Beckham has ultimately been asked whether he's involved in the bid for, whether he's involved with the bid, you know, from Qatar. And he says, he kind of says, I might be, I might not be. And if I'm not, then I'll just be a Manchester United fan. But he doesn't say no. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about that. But yeah, if anybody wants to read that themselves, it's up on The Athletic website. Yeah, you can go and check that out. Right, we've got 20 minutes left of the show, guys. I will read out some of your... I've just put the wrong link in the chat. Sorry about that. I will read out some of your questions in a little bit as well. Yeah, we've got 20 minutes left. I will read out some more of your questions in the second half of the show. So, yeah, do get your questions in. And if there's anything you want to talk about, I will read them out in the second half. We've got 600 people watching now, which is absolutely massive. Please do quickly smash a like on the video and subscribe. I have promised to give out some memberships to people in the chat if we hit 7,000 subscribers on this video. We've got 91 to go, so go and subscribe really, really quickly, and let's see if we can hit that by the end. So Jim says, I don't want Neville involved. Yeah, I agree. I would definitely take David Beckham involved in the Qatar bid, 100%, but I'm not sure about people like Gary Neville, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. Not for me. As much as I like Gary Neville as a pundit and as a player, I don't really want him involved with the actual running of Manchester United personally. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Craig says, I take that as Beckham saying he will be involved if asked, but if not, he'll just be a fan like the rest of us. Yeah, 100%. I do agree. But yeah, obviously, David Beckham has quite a strong relationship, doesn't he, with Qatar? So that was kind of what was being talked about, wasn't it? Secretly, behind the scenes, people saying, oh, I think David Beckham's involved in the bid. I think somebody's kind of, you know, going to be the face of the bid. It's going to be David Beckham. It's going to be somebody, but yeah. So Scott says, Scott's asking about director of football. At the moment, there's no news on director of football. Until we get new owners, the director of football will still be John Murtagh. So yeah, unfortunately, guys, the director of football is John Murtagh. That will be the same until the Glazers leave. Obviously, when the Glazers do leave, if they do, there's people like Paul Mitchell. There's people like, well, there's a few options out there, isn't there? But at the moment, it does look like it will be, it will just stay as John Murtagh, to be completely honest with you. People asking about Kobbie Mainoo. I've honestly, I've heard absolutely nothing about Kobbie Mainoo, which I guess isn't I assume there'll be a press conference today. Obviously, we play Dortmund tomorrow, don't we, in a pre-season match? So I assume Erik ten Hag will be talking to the press today. So I guess we can expect to get some news on Kobbie Mainoo later on today, guys. So as soon as we get that news on Kobbie Mainoo, I will bring it to you. But as it stands, we haven't heard anything about Kobbie Mainoo, unfortunately. But Ten Hag will be talking to the press today. So yeah, we will keep you updated as and when we get some more news on that. Big T says, I'll let you know in a few weeks if I'm involved with the Qatari takeover or not. Very nice. I like that. But yeah, just to summarise, that's part of the show. I personally wouldn't want Gary Neville involved. I love him as a player and love him as a pundit, but I don't. Yeah, whereas somebody like David Beckham, like I think he would be a good person to have involved, just because he does actually have that kind of business sense of running a football club. I know Gary Neville runs Salford, but yeah, like the way that David Beckham went to the MLS and actually turned the MLS into like a massive brand is obviously very, very impressive. Whereas like, you know, it's not really comparable with owning like a League Two football club, is it? Well, obviously that's way better than I'll ever have, so I'm not slagging him off, but it's not quite the same, is it? Yeah, but anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Would you like to have David Beckham involved in the Manchester United in the future? Somebody says David Beckham worked with Qatar on the World Cup bid. Yes, he did. So yeah, there is already that strong link there, and I would not be surprised at all if he does come on board in some capacity. Somebody's saying Borussia Dortmund's on Monday. I thought the game was tomorrow. Did we not play tomorrow against Borussia Dortmund? I'm sure it's tomorrow, isn't it? Hold on, let me just double check this. Somebody in the chat saying that the game's on Monday. Oh yeah, you are right. I thought it was tomorrow for some reason. I've completely lost track of the days at the moment. I really, really have. So completely ignore that. Manchester United's next pre-season match is on Monday against Borussia Dortmund. So yeah, we probably will hear from Erik ten Hag on Sunday, I imagine. So yeah, we'll have to keep on waiting a couple of days for... We'll have to wait a couple of days until we find out what's going on with Kobbie Mainoo, unfortunately. But obviously, if we do get any news before then, we will, of course, bring it to you early. But yeah, it's on Monday. So we play Borussia Dortmund on Monday, and then we play Lens on Friday, I believe, and then we play Atletico Bilbao the next day. And then literally 2 weeks on Monday, we play our first game of the season. I mean, I cannot wait for Premier League football to come back. I'm so excited. Yeah, I don't want to say I hate the summer, because I do enjoy the summer, but I just miss football, you know? I miss actually watching football. Like, it's great talking to you guys about it every single day. I love speaking to you guys about it, but yeah, at the same time, I do actually want there to be football on, because it does just completely change up everything, doesn't it? Somebody in the chat's asking about Disasi from Monaco. There's been no news about Disasi. Newcastle are apparently really, really interested in him as well. I don't think we'll go for Disasi unless Harry Maguire leaves, to be completely honest with you. Yeah, at this point, I don't think that Disasi will be someone who joins Manchester United, because I just have this feeling that the Harry Maguire deal is just going to rumble on and on and on and on. I wouldn't be surprised if Harry Maguire's still here when we play our first game against Wolves. I think Harry Maguire will be one of those types of players that might even go on like deadline day. That's my opinion on it. I think it will take a little while to get him out of the club. I can't imagine he'll be leaving in the next week or so, but we'll have to keep an eye on it. We'll have to wait and see. Let's have a read. Nick says, I don't care who is involved as long as the Glazers go. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. 100%. But at the same time, I don't want Sir Jim, so I kind of agree and kind of disagree. Beast Mode says, Fab channel, I love your content. I know you love your positivity on this channel, but I'm really worried about our top 4 chances this season. I think our rivals have strengthened well. All right, well, somebody's put the question in, so let's talk about it. Beast Mode has acknowledged how positive and how positive we are on the channel, which is obviously what we like to do. But he has raised his concern, which is obviously completely fine. So Beast Mode has said that he's worried about the top 4 chances this season. So there's only one way to settle this, guys, isn't there? Let's get a poll going. I'm going to set up a poll right now. Whilst I set up the poll, please go and smash a like on the video. Please go and subscribe to the channel. As I said, if we hit the 7K subscribers by the end of this video, I will give out some memberships. We're 90 subscribers away. So go and subscribe really, really quickly and hit the like video. And I'm going to set up a poll now to answer this once and for all. And the poll will be, where will Manchester United finish this season? Okay, so the poll is, where will Manchester United finish this season? And it's going to be first, second, top 4, outside Top 4. Right. Everyone make sure that you've liked the video and subscribed whilst I'm doing this. Give me 1 minute. Obviously, it's just me who does this, guys. So when I set up polls, I have to manually do it myself. And yeah, just to throw this in the mix before you do your vote. As Liam says in the chat, if anybody didn't realise, whoever finishes 5th in the Premier League this season will get Champions League football. So the top 4 has kind of disappeared now. It's now the top 5. If you finish 5th in the Champions League this season, if you finish 5th, you will get Champions League football this season. So yeah, just bear that in mind as well. What you know, if people start getting really, really worried. Yeah, so if you finish 5th, you get Champions League. Whereas last year, obviously, we got Europa League. So things have changed. The Champions League's kind of changed a little bit, and now more teams are being entered into the Champions League. My vote, as it stands, right here and now, right now in this moment, I think that we'll finish 3rd. But if we sign a striker, if we sign Amrabat, if we sign maybe a second striker, I've said this to you on videos before. If we signed Harry Kane, Rasmus, Højlund and Amrabat, I would honestly put us in the list for winning the Premier League. I would. I honestly think that would be strong enough for us to win the Premier League. But as it stands, I think probably top 4 is realistic. You know, we're only in our 2nd season with a new manager. There's still a lot of players at this moment in time who need to leave the club. If we were sat here and Maguire had gone, McTominay had gone, Dean Henderson, Bailly, if all of these people had gone and we had 200 million to spend on players, I would say, yeah, we can finish top. But at this point, I think top 4. Somebody's asking why does the... So yeah, so in relation to the Champions League thing, let me just... So ultimately... So right, so this is so people asking about how the 5th place team. This is how it goes. All right. So Premier League's 5th place side will secure Champions League football next season under radical new UEFA plans. Premier League clubs will be chasing a 5th Champions League spot next season as long as England's Euro domination continues. So the reason for this is from next season, the Champions League will go from 32 teams to 36. So from next year, there'll be 4 extra teams in the Champions League next season. Does that make sense? So ultimately, because we're one of the top leagues in the world, we get an extra place in the Champions League. So at the moment, there's only 32 teams that go in. Next year, there'll be 36. Yeah, so that's why the 5th place will get Champions League next season. And it's all to do with kind of how high our league's ranked or something. So it says the total points earned by every nation's club with bonus points for reaching certain stages, blah, blah, blah. So ultimately, Manchester City won the Champions League last year. So that puts us in a really high position in the kind of European standings of football. So it means that we will get the 5th. Whoever finishes 5th will get Champions League ultimately. So yeah. I think it's a bit weird, to be completely honest with you, because, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here, all right? Do you think in the back of the Glazers' head, this could be a reason for them to stay? Because all they want is Champions League football. They don't care about winning the Premier League. All they want is Champions League football every single year. Every other year, it's been a battle, hasn't it? It's been a battle for top 4, the battle for top 4. I'm not being cocky, but I would say that out of the next 10 seasons, right, Manchester United will finish in the top 5 now, because it's the 5th place will get Champions League. I reckon 8 out of the next 10 seasons will get Champions League football now. But purely because the 5th place team get it. I'm not saying we'll finish in the top 4, but I'm saying we'll finish in the top 5. And is this potentially a reason that would, is this potentially a reason why the Glazers could want to stay? It is very, very weird, isn't it? And I'm not sure if I agree with it, to be completely honest with you. But at the end of the day, this is just a way of the of UEFA and the Champions League to try and make more money, bring more teams in, try and expand the competition. I would not be surprised at all, guys. Let me throw this into the chat really, really quickly. How does everyone feel about this? I would not be surprised if within the next 5 years, Saudi Arabian clubs are in the Champions League. I wouldn't. I would not be surprised at all. What does everybody think about that? I would not be surprised. Give it even maybe a couple of years, and we'll see whoever finishes top in the Saudi League will be in the Champions League. I bet you. Any money. Right, so how's the poll going so far? Obviously, just to bear in mind, guys, like this poll is, I know it's a bit premature, but somebody asked in the chat, they said, where do you think we're going to finish in the table? So I thought the best way of kind of talking about this is, the best way of talking about this is to do a poll, and then we can see what everybody else thinks in the community, and then we can kind of all come to a bit of an opinion together. Big T says next season, as in the season starting in a couple of weeks. So this season, the one starting in 2 weeks, whoever finishes 5th in the season starting in 2 weeks will get Champions League football. Which is crazy, isn't it? So we don't even have to finish in the top 4 anymore. We have to finish in the top 5, and we will get Champions League football. I honestly think that we'll get Champions League football like every single season now. And that's not me being cocky, but we are one of the top 5 teams in the Premier League, aren't we? Even if we have a bad season, I still think we can finish 5th. I think, where did we finish under Ollie the year before when it was our worst season ever? Did we finish 6th or 7th? In our worst ever Premier League season, everyone was miserable. We finished in that season. Let me just double check for you guys. So in our worst ever Premier League season, we finished 6th, right? We were only 10 points off 5th in our worst ever season. Someone's saying apparently it's the 24-25 season. Okay, I thought it was this season. Apparently it's next season. I do apologise. So ignore that. This season we got to finish in the top 4, but the season after we got to finish in the top 5. So yeah, it is what it is. But I still think it does probably encourage the Glazers to sell, because they're probably all sat there looking at each other saying, well, we're going to finish in the top 4. That's guaranteed, you know, because in the top 5. Right, we'll read out a couple more questions and then we will be wrapping up the video. Somebody says the Glazers won't stay. They can't afford to. The stadium needs fixing and everything else. Yeah, I do agree with you, but they could get funding from, you know, one of these groups that are willing to give them money, you know? Have you seen that Barcelona have just got given like £300 million from the Saudi League? Has anybody seen that? Like, you literally couldn't make it up. But yeah, Barcelona have literally just been given £300 million from... Let me just double check that. Yeah, sorry. So it's so it says an unnamed Saudi club has offered Barcelona £80 million for one of. Oh no, so that's not it. I can't remember where the story was, but apparently a Saudi club have invested £300 million into Barcelona to kind of keep them going. Right, I think this is a great place to wrap up the video. It's been an absolutely incredible stream this morning. Massive shouts to everybody who has joined us today. Please do make sure to smash a like as you leave the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We're live every single day at 8 AM and 6 PM, so do make sure you subscribe. Do make sure you hit the notification bell. If we get any breaking news during the day, we do go live. If we get the Rasmus Højlund, here we go, we will of course go live. So do make sure you subscribe. Do make sure you hit a like on the video before you go. Massive shouts to everybody who's joined us this morning. I will be back later on today, so I'll catch you guys later. Lots of love and peace out.